What if I told you that most of your decisions aren't really yours? That the reason you can't focus, can't stay consistent, can't stop scrolling, can't resist distractions, isn't because you're lazy? It's because your brain has been hijacked, and the hijacker's name is dopamine. You've probably heard dopamine described as the pleasure chemical, but that's not the full story. Dopamine isn't just about pleasure, it's about anticipation, desire, craving, motivation. It's the reason you check your phone without thinking. It's the reason you open another tab. It's the reason you say just 5 more minutes and lose an hour. You might not realize this, but your entire environment is engineered to spike your dopamine repeatedly. Fast entertainment, instant messages, short-form videos, endless notifications. And every spike makes ordinary life feel dull. Reading feels slow, work feels boring. Long-term goals feel exhausting, so you chase another spike. And another, and another. Until one day you wake up and realize you can't focus for more than 10 minutes without reaching for stimulation. Here's the brutal truth. If you don't learn to control dopamine, dopamine will control you. But here's the empowering part. Your brain is plastic, trainable, rewirable. Today, you're going to learn how to train your mind to control dopamine, not by suppressing desire, not by becoming emotionless, but by mastering the system that drives your motivation. Because once you understand how dopamine really works, you stop being addicted to distraction and start becoming addicted to progress. But first, we need to destroy one massive myth. Dopamine is not pleasure, it's pursuit. You might not realize this, but dopamine isn't released when you experience pleasure. It's released when you anticipate it. That changes everything. Why most people make this mistake. They believe dopamine equals happiness, but dopamine is actually about pursuit. It's the chemical of go get it. It pushes you toward rewards. It doesn't reward you for having them. Think about this. When you're about to open a message notification, you feel a tiny rush. When you're about to watch a new episode, you feel excitement. When you're about to post something and wait for likes, there's tension. That's dopamine working. The spike happens before the reward, not after. And this is why modern life is so dangerous for your focus. Because we now live in a world of constant anticipation. Endless scrolling, endless previews, endless what's next. Your brain gets trained to chase anticipation rather than satisfaction. And here's the psychological consequence. When dopamine spikes frequently and artificially, your baseline drops, meaning normal activities, studying, working, building skills, feel less stimulating. In comparison, it's not that you lost discipline. Your brain recalibrated. Imagine drinking extremely sugary drinks every day. Eventually, water tastes bland. The same thing happens with dopamine. When your brain is constantly exposed to high stimulation activities, low stimulation tasks feel unbearable, so you avoid them. You procrastinate, you delay, you escape, not because you lack ambition. Pause, but because your dopamine system has been trained for speed and intensity. Here's something deeper. Dopamine doesn't just influence pleasure, it influences effort. The higher your dopamine sensitivity for a task, the more effort you're willing to put into it. If your brain associates quick rewards with high dopamine, it will resist slow rewards. This is why long-term goals feel painful at first. Your brain hasn't learned to associate them with meaningful dopamine release. But here's the powerful truth. You can retrain what your brain sees as rewarding. And once you do, discipline stops feeling like suffering. But to retrain it, you first have to understand the hidden addiction pattern most people are stuck in without realizing it. The invisible dopamine addiction loop. Here's a psychological truth most people don't want to admit. You're not addicted to social media, food, games, or entertainment. You're addicted to dopamine spikes. You might not realize this, but your brain forms a loop. Trigger to anticipation to reward, to drop, to craving to repeat. Let's walk through it. You feel bored. That's the trigger. Your brain remembers that. Scrolling gives stimulation. That creates anticipation. You scroll. You get micro rewards, novelty, humor, surprise. dopamine spikes, then it drops, and that drop feels uncomfortable. So you repeat the behavior to remove the discomfort. That's the loop. Most people think they're seeking pleasure. They're actually trying to escape the dopamine drop. And here's where it gets dangerous. Every time you repeat the loop, your brain strengthens it. Neural pathways become automatic. Triggers become stronger. Resistance becomes weaker. Soon, you're not choosing the behavior. The behavior is choosing you. This is why you unlock your phone without remembering why. Why you open apps out of habit. Why you refresh feeds, even when nothing changed. Your brain learned that small, unpredictable rewards are powerful. This is called variable reward reinforcement, the same system used in gambling. You don't know what you'll get. That uncertainty increases dopamine, and unpredictability makes habits addictive. Now think about what this does to your productivity. When your brain gets used to high-frequency, unpredictable rewards, structured tasks feel predictable and slow. Predictability lowers dopamine, so your brain avoids it. This is why starting work feels harder than continuing to scroll. But here's something hopeful. Addiction loops can be broken, not by force, not by shame, but by understanding how to interrupt the cycle. And the interruption begins with something most people avoid. At all costs, boredom. Why boredom is the training ground for mental strength. You might not realize this, but boredom is not your enemy. It's your reset button. Most people make this mistake. They try to eliminate boredom immediately. Waiting in line, check phone, sitting alone, play something, free moment, scroll. But boredom is the moment when your dopamine levels stabilize. When you constantly eliminate boredom, you never allow your baseline to reset. And without resetting your baseline, everything normal feels dull. Here's the psychological shift. Boredom is not a sign that something is wrong. When it's a sign that your brain is detoxing from stimulation. When you sit without immediate reward, your brain initially resists. It craves spikes. It searches for stimulation. But if you stay in that discomfort long enough, something powerful happens. Your dopamine receptors recalibrate. Suddenly, simple tasks feel more engaging. Reading feels immersive. Thinking feels clearer. Work feels smoother. Because your brain is no longer overstimulated. Most people never experience this because they panic at the first sign of boredom. They interpret discomfort as danger, but discomfort is training. When you resist the urge to immediately stimulate yourself, you strengthen what psychologists call response inhibition, your ability to pause before acting. And that pause is where control lives. The more you practice sitting with boredom, the more you increase your tolerance for low stimulation. And that tolerance makes long-term goals possible. Imagine being able to focus deeply without craving distraction. Imagine enjoying progress instead of chasing instant rewards. That's what boredom training builds. But there's another layer, because controlling dopamine isn't just about reducing stimulation. It's about redirecting it, and that's where most people get it wrong. Redirecting dopamine toward growth instead of distraction. Here's the powerful truth. You don't need less dopamine. You need better targets. You might not realize this, but your brain doesn't care what triggers dopamine. It just cares that it happens. So if you train your brain to associate dopamine with distraction, it will crave distraction. But if you train it to associate dopamine with progress, it will crave growth. The key is intentional reinforcement. Most people wait until a big achievement to celebrate. But dopamine responds better to small, consistent wins. Let's say you want to build a habit of studying. Instead of waiting until you finish a huge milestone, reward yourself for starting. Not with junk stimulation, but with internal acknowledgement. Completion of small tasks, tracking progress, noticing improvement. Each time you finish a focused session, you consciously mark it as success. That conscious recognition strengthens dopamine association with effort. While this is how you rewire motivation, you also reduce competing stimuli. If your phone is within reach during work, your brain knows an easier dopamine source exists, and it will fight you. Control isn't about willpower, it's about environment design. Make the productive path easier than the distracting one. Over time, your brain adapts. Effort begins to feel satisfying, consistency begins to feel rewarding, and suddenly, discipline feels less forced. But even with this strategy, there's a final challenge most people overlook, because dopamine isn't just tied to habits, it's tied to identity, becoming the type of person who controls dopamine. Here's the deepest shift of all. You don't control dopamine by fighting urges. You control it by changing who you believe you are. You might not realize this, but your brain aligns behavior with identity. If you see yourself as someone who lacks discipline, your brain will search for evidence to confirm it. If you see yourself as someone easily distracted, your behavior will reflect it. Identity drives dopamine direction. When you begin identifying as someone who values focus, growth, and mastery, your brain slowly aligns rewards with those traits. This isn't instant, it's gradual reinforcement. Every time you resist distraction, you reinforce a new identity. Every time you choose focus, you strengthen it. And your brain begins releasing dopamine, not for escape, but for control. This is the transformation. Distraction becomes less attractive. Progress becomes more attractive. Because your identity shifted, you are no longer someone trying to quit bad habits. You are someone building mastery, and mastery is deeply rewarding neurologically. But here's the final truth. Dopamine will always exist. Desire will always exist. Temptation will always exist. The goal isn't to eliminate them, it's to direct them. And once you understand that, you stop being controlled by cravings and start controlling the direction of your life, the discipline that feels like freedom. Dopamine is not your enemy, it's your engine. But an engine without direction leads nowhere. Today, you learned that dopamine drives pursuit, not pleasure. That addiction is a loop of anticipation and relief. That boredom is not weakness, it's recalibration. That discipline becomes easier when dopamine is redirected. And that identity shapes what your brain finds rewarding. You are not broken, you are conditioned, and conditioning can be reversed. The moment you start observing your impulses, instead of obeying them, you take back control. The moment you allow boredom, instead of escaping it, you rebuild sensitivity. The moment you reward effort, instead of distraction, you rewire motivation. And the moment you change your identity, everything else follows. In the next video, we'll break down how to build unshakable focus in a world designed to destroy it. So subscribe now, because once you control dopamine, you control desire. And once you control desire, you control your future.